All right, let's talk about something that completely changed the game for cybersecurity. We're going to pull back the curtain on the Mitre Att&ck framework, the tool that finally gave all of us a universal language to talk about cyber defense. So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the chaotic world before ATT-CAC. Then we'll see how it created a common language. We'll decode the attacker's playbook by breaking down its core parts, see how it's actually used in the real world, and wrap up with why this matters to, well, everyone. You know, to really get why ATT-MC is such a big deal, we have to rewind and look at what things were like before. Welcome to the cybersecurity's fog of war. Seriously, think about that for a second. How can you possibly build a solid defense if nobody on your team is describing the threat in the same way? It was a massive, massive problem. Your teams are seeing the same thing, but they can't agree on what to call it. That's not just confusing, it's dangerous. And this slide just nails it. This is the perfect example. Your security team sees the nitty-gritty and says, hey, we've got a malicious PowerShell script. Meanwhile, your threat intel folks are looking at the bigger picture, saying, oh, that's EPT 3.14 for sure. And what does the C-suite hear? We had a data breach. Now, here's the kicker. They're all correct, but they're speaking completely different languages. That communication breakdown slows everything down when you literally can't afford to waste a single second. So out of that chaos, out of that fog of war, comes the solution. We needed a bridge to connect all these different viewpoints, and that bridge is Mitre Att&ck. Okay, so what is it officially? It's a globally accessible knowledge base. Now, two things here are absolutely key. First, it's a knowledge base, not a piece of software. Think of it like a giant encyclopedia of bad guy behavior. And second, and this is crucial, it's all based on real-world observations. This isn't theory. This is a catalog of what attackers are actually doing out there right now. This is honestly the best way to think about it. Attack became the Rosetta Stone for our industry. It takes the technical jargon from the security team, the code names from the intel team, and the business impact for executives, and translates it all into one single unified language that everyone can understand. So, now that we know what it is, let's pop the hood and see how it works. We're about to decode the attacker's playbook by understanding the two most important building blocks of the whole framework: tactics and techniques. This right here is the absolute core concept. On one side, you have tactics. That's the why. It's the adversary's high-level goal. What are they trying to pull off? On the other side, you have techniques, and that's the how. It's the specific, concrete method they use to achieve that goal. If that's still a little fuzzy, this analogy makes it super simple. Think of a library. The tactic is the aisle you walk down. Let's say the initial access aisle. The technique is the specific book you pull off the shelf. In this case, the one titled Phishing. The tactic is the goal. The technique is how you do it. Simple as that. And voila! When you put it all together, you get the famous ATT&C matrix. It looks like this. Across the top, those columns are the tactics, the attacker's goals, all laid out logically. And then, under each tactic, you get this whole list of all the known techniques they use to get the job done. This is it. This is the attacker's playbook, mapped out for every defender in the world to see and use against them. And hey, this isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. The framework is tailored for different environments. There's a matrix for corporate enterprise networks, one specifically for mobile devices, and even one for the industrial control systems that run our most critical infrastructure. So it's one thing to have this amazing library of knowledge, but how do organizations actually put it to work? Let's talk about how all this incredible knowledge gets turned into real-world, concrete action. And trust me, Att&ck is not just sitting on a shelf collecting dust. It's the foundation for so much of what the security world does. Companies use it to build smarter threat models. Governments use it to create entire defense strategies. And all the security products and services you use, they're integrating it to make their stuff better. It is the bedrock of modern cyber defense. So here's where the rubber really meets the road. For every single technique in that giant playbook, the framework gives you practical defensive advice. It gives you mitigations. That's how to stop the attack before it even starts. And it gives you detections. That's how to spot the attack if it's already underway. It even tells you what data you need to be collecting to see it happen. It's incredibly actionable. Okay, let's zoom out for a second and talk about the bigger picture here. Because this isn't just some technical document. There's a real powerful mission behind this whole thing. This might be one of the most powerful things about ATT&ck, the price tag. You know what it costs to access and use this world-class knowledge base? Zero. Nothing. It's totally free. This was never about making a profit. It's about leveling the playing field and empowering every single defender out there, no matter how big or small. And this quote from Mitre really just says it all. The goal was never just to publish a document. It was to create common ground, a shared understanding that could bring the entire global community together to fight more effectively. And that's really what it all boils down to, right? Mitre Att&ck is just one piece of a much larger mission to solve these incredibly tough problems for a safer world. It's about taking the power away from the attackers and giving it back to the defenders. So that leaves us here. For the first time, we have the attacker's playbook. We can read it, we can study it, we can even start to predict their next moves. The real pressing question now, for all of us, is what are we going to do with that knowledge? How do we use it to write the next chapter and make sure we always stay one step ahead?